Creating tables. We're going to take a look how to merge cells, split cells, change the cell height, add shading to cells, add borders, erase cell lines, and adding graphics into the cell. When we're finished, we should end up with a table that looks something similar to this. Before creating the table, we want to figure out how many rows, how many columns we have. So we'll count the number of rows. One row, this is second big row, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 rows. And then the number of columns. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we always count the most rows, the most columns. So we've got 16 rows and 6 columns. So we're going to start a new document. And we'll create the table. So the insert table, and again we go across down this way where we want it 16 rows. But I'm going to go insert table. So we want 6 column, 16 rows. And if we miscounted, we could always add a few rows or a few columns, or delete a few rows or a few columns. So there's our basic table. Now our first one across, I'm just flip back to the other one for a moment. Our first one covers all the way across every column, our first row. Our second row is basically split in half. So to make it cover all the way across, we'll highlight all the way across, and what we want to do is merge these all into one big column. So highlight all the way across, click anywhere in the highlighted, and we choose Merge Cells. Now it's one big one. Our second row, we basically want to split into 2. So we'll highlight across, right-click, Merge Cells, and we'll do the same with the other half. Highlight across, right-click, Merge Cells. We won't worry about the heights of them at the moment. Go back to the previous one. Our next one goes all the way across. So our third one will highlight all the way across, and it doesn't matter which cell we click in, right-click, Merge Cells. Now let's put some information in here. So I'm going to do Stuart's Jewelry Boutique. And I want to make this a centered, and I'm going to find a nicer font for this. Let's do something along that line, and we're going to make it bigger. And again, as we make it larger, it automatically increases the cell size. It might be a little bit too big, we'll go that size. And we're also going to put a graphic in here. So we'll go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to look in the clip art, and we will type in jewelry, because that's what we're looking for. And it's take a moment to go through, and we get lots of different images popping up here. So I think I'm going to pick this one here, and we just drag it over to the cell. And that's a little bit bigger than I want, so I'll just click on it. I can pick the handle on the corner and bring it down to the size I desire. Now to be able to move it, when we double click on it, we can pick text wrapping, and I'm going to pick square, and that'll allow me to move it around a little bit. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. There we go. Okay, now in the cells down below, we're going to put in some information here. Bill 2, name. I want to put some underscores in, and notice as I'm typing, it's automatically adjusting the size. And I forgot to put the line in. And we'll do the same thing over on the other side. Now we want to put some headings at the top of these columns here. Okay. Just by the way, you can use the tab key. It'll move you from column to column. And then down on the bottom, we're going to have some other information in our cells. Now, a couple other things that we want to do is these cells, we want to put some shading in the background. And I'll just flip back to the other one so you can see what I mean. We want to shade across, and we also want to shade these as well. So what we do is we highlight these cells, and then any one of the highlight cells we right click in, and there is border and shading. And we'll pick the shading tab, and then we have fill colors. We also have patterns we can put in as well. Now I'm going to pick a color, and I'm going to pick a light gray, and we say OK, and when we click off we can see that it is shaded in. Now I do want to point a couple things out. I'm just going to highlight these again here. Right click borders and shading. If you decide you don't want a color, don't pick white. There's one called no color. If you pick white, you've actually shaded white. So no color gets rid of it. I also want to shade these three here as well. So I'll right click again, borders and shading, and I'll pick again the same one here. So now we've added shading in. Now the other thing what we want to do is we want to get rid of some. Let me just flip back to the finished one. We want to get rid of these lines here. Now there's a couple ways we could do that. One way is we can highlight them. We can go to borders and shading, borders, and we can say none. The other way we can do it is bring up the table ribbon. And if we go to the top left corner of our table, double click on it, we highlight the entire table, and we also get the Table Tools ribbon bar. I'll just click in one cell on the table. And we can click on these lines. And notice there is a little sort of sun shape on the eraser. That's the part that erases. So we can erase those lines. Now the last thing we want to do is adjust the width of some of these columns because we don't need them quite so big. So we'll make sure our eraser isn't on anymore, and we can just move to the line where we wanted. Notice I'm down on this one. And we'll move here till we get the arrow. I'll move it over a little bit. Gotta make this just a little bit bigger. And that looks pretty good. And the last thing that we're adding into here is just a little bit down at the bottom. It says, thank you for your order. And we want to center that, and we'll pick a little bit nicer font for it. I'm going to pick the script, and we'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go.